Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Blair, or the Illuminati, and today's video has been a long time coming. I'm talking about Arbonne today. Now, if a product works for you, from skincare to shampoo to a favorite brand of ice cream, that is awesome. I do want to use the best products for my skin, my face, my appetite, like whatever, but I do draw the line when it starts to support a pyramid scheme or contain dangerous ingredients. And, you know, if it has one of those two things, it's probably not that amazing. If someone wants to use Arbonne, go off, I suppose, but I'm here to explain why they're not only dangerous, but how horrible their operations are, from their products to their potential downline. So with all of that being said, let's dive right in and see what Arbonne's been hiding and what their company is all about. Arbonne International, known as Arbonne obviously, was founded 40 years ago in 1980 by the Norwegian entrepreneur Peter Mork. Peter passed away in 2008, and well, there isn't that much to say about the guy. I just wanted to know exactly why Peter founded this company. So after all, even though MLMs start with good intentions sometimes, like Tupperware, it just turns out Arbonne's not one of these companies. Peter even says the reason he started Arbonne is because, in his word,
I kind of wanted a legacy. It's a selfish thing, but I wanted it to become a kind of a legacy.
So look, I always feel weird criticizing dead CEOs and all of that, but just that's not really how, we should be starting this whole shenanigans about Arbonne, honestly. And it's not to say that wanting a legacy is wrong, or that this was his only reason, but the issue I have with this is that, the whole want to be remembered thing seems to be overshadowing safe, healthy, and bringing worthwhile products to consumers. We'll get to the products in just a bit. I think the whole legacy and ethical business thing should go hand in hand. I mean, yeah, you can climb your way to the top and leave behind a bigger brand name if you take all sorts of shortcuts, but what kind of legacy is that? I don't know, it's not one I would be proud of personally. It also really irritates me when he goes on to say that this is what his Hunbots are doing. They're creating businesses and leaving behind legacies too, according to Petter.
This too is something each and every one of you is creating through Arbonne. You do it. A business and a belief that can and will flourish.
But how are they doing that exactly? They're only bringing in more money for him, not necessarily themselves. The Arbonne stock doesn't benefit them the way it would benefit Petter. This is nothing but a deceptive way to make Huns feel like they're part of the family or the Arbonne community, as if this was sort of a united family business, when in reality it's not. So interestingly enough, Petter's son told the story of Arbonne on YouTube a couple years back. According to his son, Petter wanted the normal products on the market to be more natural and botanical, and the best way to do that was formulating them in Switzerland. He found carved wooden birds as gifts for consultants, picked up trash on the beach, and wore unique red ties. I'm not trying to knock any of that, and that's your prerogative with what you want to do or not want to do with your time or how you dress yourself. I'm all for cleaning up the environment, absolutely, but what was his experience? Why was Switzerland the best place to do all of this? And most importantly, tie wearers in the comments, let me know, is wearing a red tie that unique? I don't think it is, but maybe I'm wrong. The information is so surface level that I just don't feel that I know Arbonne's story at all. So I headed over to Arbonne's website itself to see if there were any more answers for me, and I learned that in 1965, Petter was in charge of a skincare and makeup division for a company in Norway. He said he wasn't satisfied, knowing many products were formulated with ingredients that weren't beneficial to the skin. As Arbonne said, before green was a marketing phenomenon it is today, Petter was green. And hey, I can absolutely understand the want to be natural and try to use safer ingredients, but the so-called green market is so unregulated, and that's a whole separate issue for literally another video that is coming. I don't know if it's coming soon, but it is on the way. So even though Arbonne is an MLM, I was curious to understand how they market their products as green, why they do it, and how good it actually is. And I obviously wanted to know, is this a case of Petter wanting to be rich or wanting to create a green skincare line? Well, what better way to check out their products than to let them speak for themselves, right? So that's exactly what I did. So first I took a look at their facial cleanser, a pretty basic product everyone is pretty much going to have in their skincare arsenal. So first of all, it was $40, and yeah, it better be made with gold flakes or something. I know that Arbonne Huns get a percentage off, but that's still at least twice as much as what I would be willing to spend, generally speaking. As for their product sheet, it also left a lot to be desired. When you sort through the obvious water and chemicals and all this other kind of stuff, and of course adding alcohol, which I'm not a huge fan of using something that's just gonna dry your face out inside skincare products, but like, okay. Like, sure, there's some root and grass extract, absolutely, and you better believe that's what Arbonne puts right at the top of their product list sheet under key ingredients, but if your key ingredients don't really have benefits and everything, then why all the sulfate language in here anyway? Now, make no mistake, I'm not saying that the stearic acid and other ingredients have no place in facial cleansers. I just find it interesting that they kind of peddle around the roots and grass extracts and all this cool stuff as their top selling, like, ingredients in there, but when you look at the ingredient list, it doesn't fully add up. In fact, stearic acid is actually a really common ingredient that can act as an emulsifying agent, meaning it binds oil and water together and allows soap particles to bind with dirt and oil on your skin. So it's in there for a reason, but like for once I'd love to see a skincare brand talk about the magic of stearic acid and other scientific ingredients and what it does do to benefit your cleanser and why it's there. Rather than see companies like Arbonne promote their root extracts as if it's such a natural and superior product when those extracts maybe take up 15% of the ingredient list, like maybe. Plus, if Arbonne was founded on being so green and natural to begin with, and they were ahead of the curve like they say, then why aren't they the best damn natural products around for the best price? There are sulfate-free washes out there with similar extracts that charge $28 for a bottle with more than twice as much product in it. Like Ursa Major, they claim to be vegan and cruelty-free too. So does that mean you should be using natural fancy facial cleansers? Not necessarily. Only you know what your skin wants and what's going to work for you. I've had very few drugstore brands for me, and some of the luxury brands are where I kind of have to stick, but a vast majority of it breaks me out because I have sensitive skin, so I'm usually very skeptical when it comes to these kinds of claims on skincare products. There's dermatologist-recommended brands out there for $11 and clean, cruelty-free, vegan, sulfate-free products for $10. My point is simply that if Arbonne is going to act as if they paved the way for natural brands before green was cool, then they should have some pretty good affordable products to match that. I obviously cannot vouch for what selection they had in the 80s, but they sure as hell are not really worth the money by 2020 standards. Another gigantic issue I have with Arbonne, in terms of product anyway, are their oils, and the oils. You pay $35, $28 with a discount, for the scent of gratitude. Yeah, well, I'm gonna be grateful to keep my $38 in the bank. Thanks. There's also a lavender essential oil or a lemon for $15. Like, you get the picture. It's just overpriced as hell. But it's not just the price that bothers me on this one. I've seen lavender oil for around this price before, even though the gratitude one is not something I'd ever go for. As we all know, it's how oils are marketed that's a huge problem. From time to time, they're marketed as relaxing, as they should be. But at other times, we've seen them plugged on Facebook when family members pass away, and even peddled by doctors and nurses from time to time. So I'm not trying to say, oh man, that's the company's fault, and they're definitely telling their Arbonne Hunbots to do this. But I also have no doubt that it's probably happening. I've covered plenty of these types of insane posts in my old anti-MLM videos, and we know the tea with this. We know these oily Huns can take it way too far and definitely tread into anti-vax territory. Even if the company hasn't told them to do this, you better believe I hold them accountable for not speaking up about it and not telling their Hunbots to cut the shit. Now, before we get into the deep trouble and lawsuits they've been in, we're going to talk about the recalls, which seems appropriate. After all, we just went over their supposedly wonderful, healthy, green products, right? Now look, companies are bound to make mistakes. I am not going to sit here and say that every company will be 100% perfect 100% of the time. Companies are run by people, people are imperfect, which means companies will make mistakes because people will make mistakes. So I understand, and it is unfortunate when a product has to be recalled, and this is just in a general sense. I'm not specifically, like, playing favors to Arbonne here, like, it's okay, Arbonne, everyone makes mistakes. And with Arbonne being in business for 40 years, stuff will kind of happen. But you know, Arbonne must have had some issues when I search cosmetic recalls and their name is first, and the most recent recall to pop up. As of this time, there's a recall on their shea butter body wash because product testing revealed Pluralibacter gergove in their product, which is one hell of a word, but it's a pathogen that causes headaches. I wasn't even explicitly looking for Arbonne's name, I was just literally typing in, on Google, like, oh, let's look at cosmetic recalls, and there's Arbonne right at the top, and I was like, well, what have we here? So, since 2009, in 11 years, there's been 7 Arbonne product recalls. There's one we just mentioned in June of this year, but there are 6 others. In February 2009, Arbonne withdrew their 8-figure brand Peanut Butter Chews as they were linked to salmonella illness and death, as well as the Heavenly Candy Co. and Whole Foods bulk peanut butter and honey roasted. I can't say with 100% certainty if any of the 500 illnesses and 5 deaths were because of Arbonne's chews specifically, but they were one of the 3 potential sources, so, that's not a good look either way. In September 2009, Arbonne also recalled its Sea Source Detox Spa brand foaming sea salt scrub due to possible bacterial contamination. It is a little ironic that they call it a detox scrub and that it actually might be filled with harmful bacteria. Now, just to be fair, the US Food and Drug Administration said it was a voluntary recall initiated by Arbonne because they discovered the bacteria in the recalled lot. Those organisms, however, might cause dermatitis, soft tissue infections, and a variety of system infections, particularly with users who are immunosuppressed, the FDA said. Because the foaming sea salt scrub is used to exfoliate the skin's surface, there is a possibility that inadvertent introduction of the tainted product directly into any skin abrasions could result in infection, the agency added. So that's for 2009, potential deaths and dermatitis, classy, love that, fabulous, and of course, I really do want to believe that a company can move past this. So after such a horrible year, you'd think they'd be cautious and not really want to have recalls in the near future. I do try to give companies the benefit of the doubt when I can, or try to see where they're coming from and give credit where it's due. If we were obviously in 2020 right now, and that was the only recall, I might not be so upset, like, yeah, that sucks, but they clearly learned their lesson. But this is apparently a pattern with Arbonne, because only 4 years later, in 2013, another product was recalled. In January 2013, Pharmaceutical Processing wrote, Arbonne International Distribution Incorporated is voluntarily recalling one lot of its RE9 Advanced for Men Facial Moisturizer SPF 20 sunscreen due to microbial contamination. Product testing undertaken by the company detected bacteria that may pose serious health risks to people, especially those with weakened immune systems. The bacterium identified in the tested samples has been associated with infections of the blood, joints, lining of the heart and valves, and with meningitis. Potentially serious infection may result when the affected product is used in those with weakened immune systems and those with HIV/AIDS, and as well as those with damaged skin and cuts from shaving. The product is sold through Arbonne International Distribution Network of independent sales consultants. So I mean, look, I went after Nestle for their recalls, but this is also some pretty dangerous shit. I've got to wonder what Arbonne Hans thought like for people frequently using their products. Like, aren't they worried that potentially every few years something is gonna come up and they're gonna also have to deal with the backlash from their own customers? I mean, I just don't think this level of recall is normal. Like, maybe it is for companies, but it just doesn't seem to be that way when I look up, like, actual reputable companies, but this is just a lot, and it keeps going. Their next recall was in January 2014, when Arbonne recalled a sunscreen product. ProductSafety.gov said the hazard was Enterobacter jovene bacteria, which poses a risk of infection to immunocompromised individuals. A couple years later, in 2016, their It's a Fine Line liquid eyeliner product contained a high level of gram-positive bacteria, in other words, just more infections, like conjunctivitis or pink eye and swollen eyelids. Definitely just not what you really want out of an eyeliner. A year after that, in 2017, their Rescue and Renew Detox body wash wasn't rescuing or renewing anyone again. The product found to contain, again, an unacceptably high level of literally the same bacteria that live on the skin, which again can cause infections in immunocompromised patients. And then, of course, in 2020, we have the one that I mentioned earlier. So now here's kind of my giant issue with this one. Some of these recalls are for the same fucking problem. Infections in immunocompromised individuals. How messed up is it and just bad at, like, how bad do you have to be at making your own products? Like, that you keep making the same mistake for years and years and years and keep doing recalls? Like, When are you going to realize something's wrong here? A couple separate recalls, okay. I don't say it's all right, but it does happen. But multiple within a short period of time for the same issue, it just really makes me question what they're doing over there. Like, what is their actual process? Like, do they clean their facility? Like, do they test this stuff, or do they just use their consultants as guinea pigs? Like, what's the deal? Now, thankfully, I'm not the only one that's had it with Arbonne's garbage. There's been a couple of lawsuits directed at Arbonne, one succeeded, one dismissed. The first one came in 2009 when Lisa Wilson filed a discrimination suit against Arbonne. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission released this article. A large skincare products company with a distribution center in Greenwood, Indiana will pay $30,000 to settle a disability discrimination lawsuit brought by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the agency announced today. The EEOC charged in this suit that Arbonne International LLC violated federal law by refusing to hire Lisa Wilson due to her disability, deafness. Such alleged conduct violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. The EEOC filed suit first after attempting to reach a pre-litigation settlement. In addition to the monetary settlement, the 18-month consent decree provides for Arbonne to comply with prohibitions against further discrimination, post and distribute a policy of non-discrimination, train its employees, and report to the EEOC. So let's just start with the obvious, how $30,000 is a garbage settlement and it's literally nothing to Arbonne. So now that we got that out of the way, let's continue why it's pissing me off. It's this hilarious Hun mindset to me, right? How Arbonne, Unique, Pure Romance, Monat, they all talk about how so fucking empowering they are. They're family, we're a community, we're all about helping women and empowering people. And then this supposed family here is so quick to refuse to hire a deaf person. Well, you know, you're family until there's something wrong with you, then no thanks. And before people decide to comment and go, well, you know, if she was applying for a job that requires answering phones, hearing is kind of important, so no. That's not what happened, though. The article says at the top that this was a position for their Greenwood warehouse, and it's just kind of discrimination, plain and simple. And obviously, that's why EEOC won. But yeah, there's a little nugget of knowledge you should know. Now, Arbonne's other lawsuit is a tad more complicated. In May of 2017, Arbonne was sued for allegedly being a pyramid scheme. And you guys already know my thoughts about this. I am just simply a pyramid against pyramid schemes, and my god does Arbonne stink. When I think direct selling, MLMs, pyramid schemes, a lot of it all just kind of goes hand in hand. Put it this way, show me an MLM where you can actually make a living without recruiting a downline and I'll eat my words. But anyway, that's not going to happen, so let's continue. A couple by the name of Cynthia and Michael Dagnall sued them for being a pyramid scheme. According to the complaint, Cynthia Dagnall spent $2,500 to purchase products and promotional materials, and her husband, Michael, paid $340 in fees as consultants with Arbonne from 2014 to 2016. The suit claims that Cynthia received only $30 in payments from Arbonne and that her husband received zero. The plaintiffs hold Arbonne International LLC, Johnson House, Brandsma Pitchard, and Carol Neal responsible because the defendant's business practices are fraudulent and is an illegal and deceptive endless chain scheme, the suit states. Now, obviously, I wish I had a happy ending for you guys here, and that I could say that the Dagnalls won and Arbonne was shut down. But unfortunately, as we know and as we've seen before, MLMs are absolute professionals at towing that line between technically legal but hella shady and downright illegal. So according to the update on top class actions, the lawsuit was dismissed on March 20th, 2018. But I've still got to give a hand to the Dagnalls for trying, but courts are really complicated. If the lawsuit they presented just didn't quite have the right type of factual information that they needed, even if what they're saying is generally true, it doesn't matter in the court's eyes because it's the plaintiffs that have to provide that proof, not the defendant. The last couple things I've got for us to talk about today are obviously the Hunbots themselves and the numbers. First, we'll take a look at how much you can actually make with Arbonne, and then just hear how horrible the company has been in terms of recruitment. As for the numbers, Arbonne say they have reached almost 320,000 Hunbots as of 2017. So if we go ahead and cross-reference that with their 2017 income disclosure statement, you'll see the average yearly earning is $830. Divide that by 51 weeks, and that's $16 every week. Their independent consultants, which make up 66% of the company, make about 2 hours worth of a minimum wage job. And then their district managers, which, is just a fancy title, make around $3,700 a year on average. Divide that by 51 weeks and you get $73 a week. And those district managers make up 25% of the company. So with both of those positions covered, the rest of the company is only 9% left. The finance guy's research said 99.7% of Arbonne's consultants are losing money, once you take into account all the money they have to spend and the work they put in. So as if the product recalls weren't enough reason to make someone stop buying Arbonne, let's take a look at how they're actually paying their employees. And just a question, just a thought to reiterate on as we're continuing to go through this. Is this really the legacy that Petter wanted to leave behind? Seriously? The way Arbonne Huns act, as we've touched on already, is also seriously worrying. One story read, Kimberly is currently suffering from stage 4 cervical cancer. After posting a photo opening up about her battle using the hashtag #FuckCancer on her Instagram page, she received a private message from an Arbonne sales rep. Hey babe, so sorry to hear about your battle with cancer. Seeing as you might be dying soon, I think it's a really good idea to get involved with Arbonne as it's such a good income and you won't want to leave your son with nothing, right? That would be so selfish. The money you can make from it will be enough for him to go through school and Arbonne look after your family after you die. I think you have a lot of followers who will buy our amazing products off you because they know you are dying, so they will feel sorry for you, so it's a really good marketing platform. Let me know your thoughts and we can get this journey started. So if that didn't hurt you enough, it got worse. After sharing the message on social media in outrage, Kim was then sent comments made by Katharina Zur, a New Zealand Arbonne regional vice president, accusing her of faking her own cancer. Kim sent several messages and emails to Arbonne asking for an apology, which were all largely ignored. Eventually, Arbonne released a statement. Recently, it came to our attention that someone who claimed to be an Arbonne independent consultant contacted a member of the Instagram community with a hurtful and distasteful message. Arbonne has privately reached out directly to the impacted individual to let her know we are equally appalled and saddened by the messages she received and the hurt they caused. We have a strict code of conduct that prohibits and directs against such abhorrent behavior. At this time, we are working with Instagram to identify the persons responsible for the message so that appropriate measures can be taken. Kim claimed that Arbonne had only contacted her once with a brief Instagram message saying that they would call, but they hadn't. It was revealed later by another Arbonne consultant that the original person who sent Kim the message had been identified and was known for her unethical marketing tactics. Despite public outcry on their social media, Arbonne has yet to actually release an apology or publicly acknowledge the incident or any of their consultants' comments. Instead, they have chose to delete negative comments on social media and restricting accounts who criticize the company. So toot toot, I guess I'm on that train officially. After her story began to go viral, Kimberly said she had also received several messages from other people who had dealt with belligerent consultants feigning sympathy for cancer sufferers. She said that one that stuck out to her was about a man who got a tattoo of his mother on his arm and posted it with the hashtags RIPMum, #FuckCancer. He then received 3 messages from independent consultants saying they noticed his post and were sorry about his mum passing away. They then told him that signing up to Arbonne would be a gift and a blessing and that he would make his mum proud. It had been 1 week since his mum passed. He declined politely and said no. One of them said, "I'm sure your mum left you something in her will. It would be a great idea to invest that back into something as beautiful as Arbonne." And this is just a small selection of stories. There are so many out there. There's also plenty of Arbonne Huns apparently going around offering to help talk to people during difficult times or COVID, only to try and lure them into their downline. If you want to read more about this, there's literally a ton on shityoushouldcareabout.com, and again, the amount of stories is worrying, and how disgusting and unsympathetic a lot of them are. But what's equally frustrating is how little Arbonne the company does. A real company, or I should say an ethical company, would denounce this type of behavior and fire people, but they don't because, let's be real, those Huns are truly their customers and they want to make that money. It's not about ethics or being natural or doing good or helping people. It's about money. And Arbonne, which made $544 million in 2018, sure does not want to lose its best customers. So with all of that being said, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and let me know your thoughts in the comments comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, hello, I welcome you to hang out for a little bit longer. Feel free to subscribe and check out a ton more videos that I have on the channel and more that will be coming in the coming days. You can check out my description box for all of my social media, my other YouTube channels, and all the other various projects that I work on. Links for everything, including all my sources, will be down below. So again, guys, thank you so much for making it to another video. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!